Welcome to Morning Joe with Tom, with your host, Thomas Chappell. Get ready to listen to real-life stories from inspiring leaders who have overcome incredible challenges to rise to the occasion. If you're ready to add some pep to your morning with a new outlook on leadership, then grab your cup of coffee. It's time to be inspired. Here's your host, Thomas Chappell.
Hey, Carolyn, it's so great to see you. Man, it's been a minute. I'm
It
so glad we finally got to make this happen.
it has. It is good to see you too, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And so for all my listeners out there, Carolyn is the one that she's been friend, mentor, butt kicker, and a big sister, all wrapped up into one for me. So uh, I would like to introduce, and from this perspective, my big sister, Carollynn Hammersmith. Why don't you
Oh,
give us a little bit of an intro where you come from today?
sure. You almost had me at tears, Tom, so thank you.
You
You're
know,
really
it's
good
all
at that.
love.
Yeah, I know. So, Carollynn Hammersmith, Tom and I met, gosh, probably back in 2018 when we were both at the U.S. Department of Education. I was a federal employee in the CIO shop, and Tom was leading as a program manager our Pivot I program, and that's the IV&V program where basically you have somebody or you have a team of people who are oversight for other contracts to make sure that the government is getting the best value for the money that it's spending. And with Tom and his team, we absolutely did. I was new in my role. We had just done a CIO reorg, and I went from having a full branch of people and an investment um, portfolio to being in operations and maintenance. And the big activity that we were doing was transitioning from a single monolithic vendor, IT vendor, to six new vendors that were supposed to be best in breed and providing hosting infrastructure, oversight, printing, mobile and telephones, telecommunications, to help desk and laptops, and all of the IT services that a federal agency relies on to support the mission. And Tom and I kind of got thrown into the deep end together because not through not our fault, but the contract was worth a lot of money. Those six contracts were worth probably $75 million a year. And that's a lot of money in the federal
Mhm.
space. And the vendor who was the incumbent did not win, and they challenged the acquisition at every turn. And so something that had been given 12 to 18 months to transition, which would have been responsible and reasonable, and I won't say easy, but it was doable. Um, those protests pretty much gave us 6 months to do
Mhm.
all that work, and it was crazy.
Mhm.
And so I was asked to come in and lead that transition with the system owners, and there were 22 system owners that were transitioning from the old vendor into the five new vendors plus, the oversight contract. And so every day, Tom and I and our teams showed up on a conference call with those 22 system owners and helped them get across the finish line. And
Yeah.
if you've ever done anything like that, that's a really interesting thing. And talk about team building. I mean,
Mhm.
you had to have a lot of trust in the people you were working with. And if there wasn't process, it was incumbent upon you to create that process. So between Tom and I and our teams, we created an amazing team and an amazing process that really saved the department a lot of money in the 6 months that we were there, because if we'd gone on to the 12 or 18-month timeline, I think the price tag was we were losing $25 million every month.
Hmm.
And we could not afford that for more than the 6 months that we had. So it was incredible. So that's how you and I met.
Hmm.
And because we worked so well together, I had the great privilege of being Tom's government program manager for the oversight contract. And once everything was migrated, it was just starting. We were building a brave new world, and that was a big part of our relationship. I went on to being the system owner for the GSS, which is the General Support System for hosting. And Tom's advice was invaluable to me to making sure we did all the things that we needed to do, as well as helping me build a brand new change advisory board. And so in IT, that's your change control board. And so it was larger than the 22 systems that were hosted there. It was an enterprise change control board, and that was 150 systems that we had to create process for. And it was using a new to us tool, which was called ServiceNow, as an IT service management tool. Previously, the other vendor that had been there had been using Remedy. I knew nothing about Remedy, but I quickly learned about ServiceNow. And then, we worked with another program office to build our change advisory board, our process, our forms, our strategies. And this all happened not just through my brilliance or Tom's brilliance. This is a collaborative effort, because if it's going to work for the enterprise and you're going to get people to do what you need them to do to manage that risk and ensure as high uptime as possible for IT systems across an entire department, you've got to
Hmm.
get buy-in. And buy-in with 150 systems is not easy.
No.
So that was my time at the Department of Ed with Tom, and I left federal service in 2021, and I ended up going to IBM, still in federal, doing consulting. And so I became the AI focal for my federal practice, which is customer transformation. And that's a similar sort of work that I was doing at Department of Ed. And, AI was the big thing. And I had an amazing opportunity to work with customers both in federal as well as in the commercial sectors to do AI strategy. And it was really there that I firmed up my human-centered design thinking skills. And so for me, AI, while it's a technology, is meant to serve the humans first.
Hmm.
And if that's the intent, then humans have to always be part of all of the decisions that are being made about AI. How to use it, why to use it, should you use it? Because sometimes you don't need AI, you just need to automate something, and it
Hmm.
doesn't always have to be AI. So I learned a lot from IBM frameworks and processes that I've carried forward to today. So, responsible AI strategist, human in the loop, human centered. That's who I am.
Yeah, no, and thank you for all that back history. I would kind of say that what made us successful, obviously our team was successful at what we did, but we were doing it because you were able to kind of effectuate and mediate a lot of the government challenges that we faced. I mean, it was really the nights and weekends, the many behind the closed doors conversations that you had to have to kind of like help drive this forward, because we all know personalities are involved in stuff like this, and if it wasn't for you being able to do that, we would not have been as effective as it was. As a matter of fact, there was someone before you got involved that had started there, and they were not effective. So whenever you came in and you so quickly turned things around with us, that made it to where we achieved a lot more success, but it's not forgotten that you were in there having those private conversations and sometimes very public conversations.
Yeah. I mean,
So I
I
appreciate it.
think, oh, well, thank you. I mean, I think that's the thing about government is when government doesn't always treat contractors like true partners.
Mm.
And I understand, some of the things are you can't talk about your budget because then, you give away how much you have to spend, et cetera. But, the reality is that contractors are the backbone of the federal government, whether people want to realize that or not. And to treat them as anything but real partners who are there to support the work does a disservice to the other half of the equation, which are contractors. And so one of my personal credos really was it doesn't matter whether you're a contractor or a Fed. We all get paid from the same checkbook. It's just who signs the check is slightly different. And if you're on my team, it doesn't matter if you're a Fed or a contractor, we're a team. And I accord you the same respect and expectation of we got to get stuff done. And that 6 month deadline, um, I hate to say I'm really good with short deadlines, but frankly, I am.
Okay.
And I like that people consider me the get her done girl. Um, but, it wasn't just me. It was everybody. And
Yep.
from the most senior of executives, I mean, everyone's timeline was the same. And so we had to come together both publicly and privately to figure it out. And I do consider that 6 month transition to be one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was, I mean, I know about your past a little further than that, but I don't know absolutely everything that you've done. But I would agree for me that you made a huge, huge impact for us. And like I said, we would not have been as successful had it not been for you. And, you know, uh, this is how I know that you kind of share the same philosophy that I share. When you go in and you're doing consulting, it's to do no harm. That's how I kind of see you is you do no harm. You're not going in there to kind of like tear up anything for the sake of tearing it up because you're trying to reshape the world. You want to pull everybody with you along the way and shape it in a way that people don't get destroyed, that people have the buy-in, that they can see themselves as the champion. That's what I've seen about you. It's not you go into a situation of where it's not the Carollynn show, it's
It
the
never
them
is.
show, and you make them look good. But I've yet to see anybody that doesn't remember you in some way that says, yeah, I know her. She wasn't out there, look at me, look at me. She was like putting it back into perspective and helping people get there. Um, and also AI strategist. Some of
Okay.
my listeners are not going to really understand, and I know you mentioned it earlier, and I meant
Yeah.
to kind of get back into it. Can you kind of discuss a little bit more in detail, maybe provide us with how that you see um, from your perspective as an AI strategist? What does it mean? How do people know what to be looking for uh, on this whenever they get ready to have these conversations? Because this can't be easy. People are scared to death. You know, employees are scared that they're losing their jobs. Uh, Owners are realizing that if they can't keep up with it, uh, that their competition is going to let you know make them behind. So
Eat their lunch. Yeah.
yeah, eat their lunch, and even in the contracting world, uh, I've realized this. So you're kind of like Superwoman out there, kind of bringing in this message. You're part you're part warrior, part Superwoman, part tech head. So, you know, I'm the owner of a company trying to understand how I can incorporate this, and I'm scared to death. How do we have that conversation?
So that is a great opening line. Recently, I've been doing some public speaking, and I would love to say that my brilliance in strategy has been, overwhelmingly embraced, and it has. But I think the thing that people most want to talk about right now is their fear.
Mm.
Okay, and so we're living in through unprecedented times for so many different reasons. You know, I'm not going to go into them. We just look at the date stamp on this, and people will go, "Oh, that's when that happened." Um,
Yeah.
but it's really about, I was at something called Measure Camp DC a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to people talk. And so that's an unconference. So no one goes in with any idea of who the speakers are going to be. Everyone's invited. You can come and speak and you can spin up an idea, throw it up on the board. And then if your topic is interesting to people, people show up and sit in. And so I'd been hearing from other folks who say that they're also AI strategists that even executives who are really smart people, some of the most educated people in the world, own businesses, but they're feeling less than when it comes to AI. Their staff are smarter than them around AI, and they don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so within the first 10 minutes of the welcome speech where they're talking about how the conference was supposed to run, I was like, okay, I'm gonna crowdsource these data folks. So this is really a data conference, unconference, but it was data scientists and data managers and then people who just have data and want to see what's happening in the world. And I'm like, all right. So my topic was fear and loathing in the age of AI,
Mm.
which I figured that was a probably a good starter. And there's a saying in tech, if the tool is free, then you're the product because they're gathering data from you. They're gathering what you do, how you use it, what your, all the technology things that can happen on the back end, from tracking and cookies and GPS and and creating this composite image of who we all are. And that's been
Mm.
going on for years. But people are just now starting to realize that. And so I wanted to see from a data perspective, people who live and work with data every single day, how they were feeling about AI. And the fear and loathing was kind of me trying to be funny, but oh boy, it was not funny.
Yeah.
People really brought their fear and loathing, and I'm thankful that I was able to, one, if nothing else, explain what terminology meant in plain English, because you hear all these technology terms, temperature and context windows and hallucinations, and in plain English, they have different meanings. Temperature is, how hot or cold something is, right? And in AI, it is too, but it's about if you want strict settings, you go with cold settings. If you want no holds barred, wild, wild west, you go with hot settings. And then when should you be using these settings? Hot settings are great for brainstorming. Cold settings should be for risk and compliance and finance. You don't want your AI going off and just doing crazy things. You want to have some narrowly defined values for that. Hallucinations. I mean,
Mm.
I think that's probably the one that most people get. But
Mm.
in AI, the interesting thing there is AI always sounds certain,
Hmm.
even when it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the hallucination. It makes stuff up because it's been programmed to provide an answer. Whether or not it's the right answer, unless you put those guardrails around, which is cite your source and I want the link, and then you go to the link and see if it's actually credible. I've
Yeah.
had some AI cite their source, and I'm like, I expected you to give me the Washington Post or MIT or whatever, and it gave me some little known website. And I'm like, what? That's not credible. I mean, and that's really kind of where we get to with strategy is what are your personal values? And as
Mm.
an AI strategist, and I like to call myself a responsible, ethical, and trustworthy AI strategist because I come before the tech. You're not
Mm.
going to ask me and get a good answer out of this. What tech should I be buying? What AI should I be buying? Because on the face of it, I have no idea. What I do is I work with you and your organization. And so it's bigger than just the C-suite. And it has to be bigger than just the C-suite that's involved in these conversations. Your company, your organization, whether it's a for-profit or not profit or the military or the federal government or state or whomever, your business, your organization is not just one or two people. It's everybody. It's everybody that works there. And
Mm.
everyone has a different perspective. So we first got to bring together those diverse perspectives. And this isn't about DEI. This is about making sure that everyone is heard because your company, as I said, is not just one or two people, it's everybody. And everyone has a different perspective on what that business is. You bring them together and you create your values. And from there, we take those values and map them to what's a good use case. And then we look at, is this a good idea? You know, you've got the generalized use case, you got secondary effects of that, how could this impact money? How could this impact, staffing, et cetera. But where the meat is something called the tertiary effect. And those tend to be the unplanned, unexpected outcomes from using AI. But you could swap out AI for any technology, really.
Mhm.
You've got to know who you are and what you value before you decide that you're going to buy something or build something or configure something. Because if you don't know that, how do you know that's the right tool?
Yeah.
And sometimes, frankly, you don't need AI. Sometimes you just simply need to automate something.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's as important to know what you should do as well as what you shouldn't be doing with AI. And so that's what I help companies do is understand their values, understand what a significant use case would be, as well as how do they get return on investment. ROI is really important. There was a study that came out, I think it was September from MIT, that said 95% of all AI pilots are failing to deliver an ROI.
Mhm.
Why? Because they're building it to solve the wrong thing.
Mhm.
So you're wasting money. I mean, it's one thing to be able to say, I'm playing in this AI space. And, if you want that sort of gravitas, that's great. And if you have that sort of money to burn, please call me. I absolutely want to talk to you. But if you're not, and you really need to do the right thing, also please call me because I can help you figure that out. You and your organization have the answers. I'm just that person that pulls it out of you and helps you go, oh, this makes sense. This is who we are. And then when it comes time to decide, do we need AI? We'll have a use case that can be tested. And sometimes that testing is, yeah, I don't need AI for this. I just need this tool that's not AI. Maybe it has AI
Mhm.
baked into it, but maybe it's just an automation. And then other times it's like, yeah, if I could do this, I could enable my people to be more productive, to get more stuff done. Because at the end of the day, that's what AI was imagined to do, not to take jobs. And right
Mhm.
now, we're living in a really scary time where people are laying off. And a lot of people are saying it's because of AI. But frankly, it's because of COVID. The technology companies overhired during COVID, and they're not getting the return on investment from those hires. It's a
Mhm.
hard thing to say, and it's a hard thing to hear, but that's what the economists are telling us right now, which is it's not about AI. A lot of people want to whitewash it with that, and there's some of that in there. IBM recently let go the majority of their HR team because they built something called Ask HR. And they felt that their AI tool was sophisticated enough and sufficient enough to handle the day-to-day HR tasks that needed to be done.
Right.
That was a decision that was made years ago, and they've talked about it. So, people weren't surprised internally when that happened. But you also have IBM now going through round after round after round of, resource actions. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's AI. I'm like, no, that's espousing a business capability by the name of Jack Welch,
Mm.
where 10 or 15% of the lowest performers are automatically shed. And you can be a high performer and still be in the bottom of
Mhm.
the performers. And
Yep.
so you start to see companies doing that now. IBM is one of them.
Yep.
And it has
I
nothing
was a
to
part
do.
of one of those. I was a part
Yeah.
of a company that did that, and bottom 10%, got to go be successful elsewhere.
Yeah. And you could be highly successful in what you're doing,
Hmm.
but there are always going to be people above you that are even more successful.
That's right.
So, anyways, back to AI and strategy. Um,
Well, that's it, but I beg to differ there. And it is a part of AI because you and I both know the future of jobs, you're not going to be let go based, or you're not going to be beat and lose your job based upon AI replacing you. You're going to be beat because somebody got savvy, someone like you got savvy on AI and was able to rise to the occasion on that.
Absolutely. And
And that's what I tell people all the time is
yeah,
that they have to, if your employees are not experimenting with AI, don't buy everything, but experimenting with AI, getting familiar with it, you're doing them a disservice because they're going to continue to fall further and further behind, especially where it's, applicable to them, to their lives, you know. So
absolutely. I mean, the saying is, and this is the really short and concise version of what you just said, AI isn't going to replace humans. Humans who use AI will replace those who don't. And
yeah,
and that's the catchphrase. And it's true in virtually every industry. It's, in the same way that the World Wide Web was a big deal. You don't have to learn how to build a website, although it's a good idea to know some basic HTML and CSS. I love that people know that. But knowing how to traverse the internet, that's a skill that every worker needs to know because information is out there. And if you can't Google it or use Perplexity or Chat or Claude or any of the other tools to find what you're looking for, and you're just expecting people to give you answers, you're not an effective employee.
right.
In the same way that calculators, I remember when, I'm old enough to remember when calculators came in. Teachers were really like, no, you will not use this. And I even remember being in some sort of math course, and being told, no, you can't use your calculator in order to be successfully graded. I need you to show your work. And I'm like, oh my God, I mean, but I did, and I passed barely because I'm not good in math. I mean,
I got your back on that one.
yeah, thanks. There's all these tools out there that do it for me, so I'm great now. But the point is that you can't be a Luddite. You cannot ignore the technology that is being brought forward if you want to continue to be successful in your career today. And people look at me like, you do this? I'm like, yeah, but I play with the tech, but I'm not going to be the one that implements that tech for you. There are many more people who do that for a living that I know that we can find to do that work, right?
Yeah,
Find the best person for the job that you need. I'm not that person. I'm the person that helps you figure out your values, helps you create a strategy, and builds a roadmap for if you're going to do AI, this is how you do AI. And these are basically your milestones to achieve. And, even helping you create an MVP. But there's got to be ROI built into that because if
right.
not, then you're just throwing money around. And again,
Yeah,
if you got money to throw around, come see me. But if you don't, also come see me because I can help you save money.
that's right. So, Carollynn, as always, it's been so great to have you. I always like to give the last word to my guest. So please, would you lead us out with all the listeners? Tell us how they can reach out to you, where they can find you, all of that stuff for us today.
Probably the easiest way to find me is through LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can find me through Tom. Absolutely. Um, but the thing that I really want to leave people with is that AI feels like everything everywhere all at once. To
Mm.
paraphrase a movie that won the Academy Award a couple of years ago, it was a crazy ride. It was exciting and it was dynamic and it was imaginative and colorful and a little crazy. Um, and honestly, I think that's how a lot of people feel about AI right now, and that's okay. Um, don't struggle to be an early or a fast adopter. Do the right thing for your organization and figure out what that is. That's the most important part. I can help. If you're not interested in talking to me, there's plenty of other AI strategists out there that would be more than happy to help you figure out your strategy and build a roadmap and hopefully do it in a way that makes sense to your organization. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Carollynn, thank you so much. And as always, we should catch up soon, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this call.
Awesome. Me too.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Tom.
Thanks for listening to Morning Joe with Tom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. See you next time for more real-life stories and inspiration on Morning Joe with Tom.